Maya Redfeather stood at the edge of Crystal Lake, with her boot sinking slightly into the soft earth. The water stretched out before her like a mirror reflecting the Arizona sky. She had left this place 10 years ago to study engineering in Seattle. Now she was back. The city had given her knowledge and skills but had taken something else in return. She could not remember the last time she had felt truly at peace. Her hands were calloused from construction work, but her spirit felt worn from years of building things that did not matter to her. The old stone bridge curved over the narrowest part of the lake about 200 feet from where she stood. Her grandmother Louise had told her stories about that bridge since Maya was a child. It had always been there according to the elders. No one knew who built it or when. The stones were massive and fit together without mortar, yet the bridge never crumbled. Louise said the ancestors called it the Singing Bridge, because sometimes at night you could hear it hum. Maya had always thought that was just the wind passing through the stones. She pulled her surveying equipment from the truck and began setting up. The land here belonged to her family through old treaties that somehow had survived the centuries. Maya wanted to build a home that honored the earth, solar panels and rainwater collection, geothermal heating, a structure that sat lightly on the land the way her people had always lived. She had spent 3 years saving money and planning. Now it was time to begin. Danny Cruz pulled up in his pickup truck, kicking up dust on the dirt road. He had been her friend since they were children, running wild along this same lakeshore. He worked construction now and had agreed to help her build. His sister Carmen ran the supply store in town and had promised good prices on materials. Danny climbed out of the truck with a wide smile on his face. "You really came back," he said. "I thought the city would keep you." "The city tried," Maya replied, "but I needed to come home." They walked the property together while Maya pointed out where she wanted to place the house. Close enough to the water to enjoy the view, but far enough back to respect the floodplain. She wanted the living area to face east to catch the sunrise. Danny nodded and made notes on his tablet. He had built houses all over the county and knew the land well. Maya set up her surveying equipment near the bridge. She needed to map the entire property to plan the foundation properly. The equipment included a laser level and electromagnetic sensors to check for underground water or rock formations. She turned on the sensors and immediately frowned. The readings made no sense. Strong electromagnetic signals were coming from beneath the bridge. She checked the equipment thinking it might be malfunctioning. She reset it and tried again. The same readings appeared. "That is weird," she muttered. Danny walked over to look at the screen. "What is wrong?" "I am getting electromagnetic readings under the bridge. Strong ones. But there should not be anything down there except rock and water. Maybe old metal debris? People used to dump stuff in the lake years ago." "Maybe," Maya said, but she was not convinced. The pattern was too regular, too structured. She made a note to investigate further. They spent the rest of the day marking boundaries and taking soil samples. The work was good, physical and honest. Maya felt her shoulders relax for the first time in months. When the sun began to set, Danny packed up his tools and headed home. Maya stayed behind, watching the light change on the water. The bridge cast a long shadow across the lake. Louise arrived just as the stars began to appear. Her grandmother was 83 but still drove her old sedan with confidence. She brought food and covered dishes and a thermos of coffee. They sat on the tailgate of Maya's truck eating and talking. Louise asked about the plans for the house and Maya described her vision. The old woman listened carefully, then looked toward the bridge. "Have you seen the lights yet?" Louise asked. "What lights?" "At night sometimes there are lights near the bridge. Blue and green. They dance on the water." Maya smiled gently. "Grandmother, that is probably just reflections. Maybe from cars on the highway." "The highway is 5 miles from here," Louise said, "and these lights have been appearing for longer than there have been cars. What do you think they are?" Louise was quiet for a moment. "The ancestors said the bridge was special. They said it was built by the star people who came down long ago to teach us. I always thought it was just a story. But my grandmother believed it. Her grandmother believed it. Maybe there is truth in old stories." Maya did not want to dismiss her grandmother's beliefs, but she was a scientist. She dealt in facts and measurements. Still, there was something about this place. Something she could not quite name. The electromagnetic readings bothered her. They suggested something unusual beneath the bridge. "I will keep an eye out for the lights," Maya promised. Louise smiled and patted her hand. "You were always the curious one. Even as a little girl, you had to know how everything worked." Maybe that is why you were meant to come back here. Maybe you were supposed to find something. After Louise left, Maya sat alone in the darkness. The lake was perfectly still. The bridge was a black silhouette against the starlit sky. She was about to pack up and drive to the motel in town when she saw it. A faint blue glow beneath the water near the bridge's foundation. It pulsed slowly like something breathing. Maya grabbed her flashlight and walked closer. The glow faded as she approached, then disappeared completely. She stood at the edge of the bridge looking down into the dark water. Her engineer's mind tried to find a rational explanation, bioluminescent algae perhaps, or some kind of chemical reaction in the old stones. But something deeper inside her whispered that this was something else. Something important. She made a decision then. Tomorrow she would bring diving equipment. She would go down and see what was beneath the bridge. Maya drove back to town with her mind racing. She had come here to build a simple house and find peace. She had not expected mystery. She had not expected her grandmother's stories to feel suddenly real. But as she lay in bed that night, she could not stop thinking about the blue glow and the strange readings on her equipment. Sleep came slowly, and when it did, she dreamed of stars and ancient stones and voices singing in languages she did not know, but somehow understood. The excavator arrived on a flatbed truck 3 days later. Danny had borrowed it from a contractor friend who owed him a favor. Maya had spent those 3 days finalizing the house plans and obtaining the necessary permits from the county. She had also purchased diving equipment from a shop in Phoenix. The owner had looked at her strangely when she said she needed it for a lake in the middle of the desert, but he took her money without asking questions. Carmen showed up that first morning of construction with coffee and breakfast burritos. She was younger than Danny by 2 years and had a sharp business sense that kept her store profitable when others in town were struggling. She handed Maya a folder full of invoices for the materials they would need. Everything was listed at cost. "No markup, you do not have to do this," Maya said. "I can pay full price." "Family helps family," Carmen replied simply. "Besides, you are doing something good here. Building the right way. We need more of that." The excavator roared to life and Danny began clearing the foundation area. The machine bit into the earth, creating neat trenches where the support beams would go. Maya watched from a distance with her tablet in hand. She was monitoring the depth and making sure everything matched her specifications. The morning went smoothly. By noon, they had completed nearly half the foundation work. Then the equipment started acting strange. The excavator's engine sputtered and died for no reason. Danny restarted it and managed to dig for another 10 minutes before it shut down again. He climbed out and checked the fuel and the filters. Everything looked fine. He called the owner, who said the machine had been serviced just last week and was running perfectly. "Try moving it away from the bridge," Maya suggested. "Maybe there is some kind of interference." Danny looked skeptical, but he moved the excavator 30 feet away from the bridge toward the opposite side of the property. The engine started smoothly and ran without problems. He spent the next hour working in that area with no issues at all. When he tried to move back toward the bridge to complete the foundation, the engine began sputtering again. "This makes no sense," Danny said, wiping sweat from his forehead. "It is like something near that bridge does not want us here." Maya felt a chill despite the warm afternoon sun. She walked toward the bridge with her electromagnetic sensor. The readings were even stronger than before. She moved closer to the stone foundation where it met the water. The sensor's needle jumped wildly. She knelt down and ran her hand along the stones. They were smooth. Too smooth. She pulled out her phone and took pictures of the stonework. That evening, she uploaded the pictures to her laptop and examined them closely. The stones were not just fitted together. They were fused somehow. The seams between them were nearly invisible. She had studied ancient construction techniques in college. Roman concrete, Incan stonework, Egyptian pyramids. This was different from all of them. The precision was beyond what should have been possible with primitive tools. She called a professor she had studied under in Seattle. Gregory Palmer taught archaeology and ancient engineering. She sent him the pictures and asked for his opinion. He called her back within an hour. His voice was excited. He said the stonework resembled some megalithic structures found in South America and Asia, sites that archaeologists still could not explain. Stones that weighed tons fitted together so perfectly that you could not slide a knife blade between them. "Where did you find this?" Gregory asked. "On my family's land in Arizona, an old bridge that has been here forever." "Maya, this could be significant. Really significant. Have you contacted anyone else about this?" No, I just want to understand what I am looking at. I think you should let me come out there. I would like to see this in person, and I want to bring some equipment, ground-penetrating radar, carbon dating samples. This could change our understanding of indigenous construction in North America. Maya hesitated. She did not want her property turning into an archaeological dig site. She just wanted to build her house. But the scientist in her was curious. What if her grandmother's stories were more than legends? What if something really was special about this bridge? Let me think about it, she told Gregory. I will call you back in a few days. That night, Maya sat on the unfinished foundation and ate dinner alone. Danny and Carmen had gone home hours ago. The sun was setting and the lake turned gold, then orange, then purple. She was exhausted from the day's work, but her mind would not rest. She kept thinking about the bridge and the electromagnetic readings and the stones that should not exist. She decided to go for a dive before it got too dark. She had been planning to investigate the underwater foundation anyway. Might as well do it now. She changed into her wetsuit and gathered her gear. Underwater flashlight, diving mask, weight belt. She waded into the lake near the bridge. The water was cold despite the warm day. She took a deep breath and dove under. The underwater world was murky, but her flashlight cut through the darkness. She swam down toward the bridge's foundation. Fish scattered as she approached. The stones continued below the waterline. She ran her gloved hand along them. Smooth and fused, just like above. She followed the foundation deeper. 10 feet down, 15 feet, 20. The bridge pillars went much deeper than they should need to for a structure this size. Then she saw it, a section of the foundation that looked different, not stone at all. Metal, smooth and dark and definitely metal. She swam closer. It was a panel about 3 feet square set into the stonework. She touched it and felt warmth despite being underwater. Her heart was pounding now. This was not ancient construction. This was something else entirely. She tried to find edges or seams in the metal panel, but it was perfectly flush with the surrounding stone. She ran her flashlight beam across it slowly. There were markings, symbols etched into the surface. They were not Apache or any Native American writing she had ever seen. They were not Spanish or English either. They looked almost like circuit diagrams mixed with some kind of alphabet. Her air was running low. She needed to surface, but she did not want to leave. She took mental pictures of everything, trying to memorize the symbols. Then reluctantly she kicked upward. She broke the surface, gasping. The sky was dark now. Stars filled the heavens. She swam to shore and sat on the bank shaking. Not from cold, but from excitement and fear and wonder. Something was beneath that bridge. Something that should not be there. Something that had been hidden for a very long time. Maya looked up at the stars and thought about her grandmother's stories. The star people who came down to teach the ancestors. What if those stories were not legends? What if they were history? She gathered her gear and walked back to her truck. Tomorrow she would bring better equipment. Tomorrow she would find a way to examine that metal panel more closely. Tomorrow she would begin to uncover the truth. But tonight she would barely sleep, wondering what secrets lay waiting in the dark water beneath the ancient bridge. Maya told Danny about the metal panel over breakfast at Carmen's diner. He listened while cutting his pancakes into precise squares. When she finished, he put down his fork and looked at her seriously. She expected him to laugh or tell her she was imagining things. Instead, he said he believed her. He had lived near that bridge his whole life. He had seen strange things too. Lights that moved wrong, sounds that came from nowhere. His grandfather had refused to fish near the bridge. Said it was a doorway. A doorway to what? Maya asked. Danny shrugged. He never said. Just told us kids to stay away after dark. They decided to investigate together. Carmen wanted to come too. She closed the diner early and met them at the lake with underwater cameras she had ordered online. The cameras were meant for fishing, but they would work fine for what they needed. Maya had also brought tools. A small pry bar, a wire brush, a handheld sonar device. She did not know what they would find, but she wanted to be prepared. The three of them suited up and entered the water. Maya led the way with Danny and Carmen following close behind. The visibility was better today. Sunlight penetrated the water in golden shafts. They descended together toward the bridge foundation. Maya's heart hammered in her chest. What if she had imagined the panel? What if it was just a trick of the light and shadows? But no, there it was. The metal panel exactly where she remembered. Danny and Carmen swam closer. Their eyes went wide behind their masks. Carmen held up the camera and started recording. Danny reached out and touched the panel. He pulled his hand back quickly, then touched it again. He gave Maya a thumbs up. He felt the warmth, too. Maya took out her wire brush and gently cleaned the symbols on the panel. Silt and algae had covered some of them. As she worked, more markings became visible. They formed a pattern, almost like a keypad or control interface. She traced the symbols with her finger. They seemed to glow faintly under her touch. She pulled her hand away, startled. The glow faded. She tried again. This time she pressed one of the symbols deliberately. Nothing happened. She tried another. Still nothing. Danny was watching her. He pointed to a sequence of symbols that formed a circular pattern. Maya nodded. She pressed them in order, following the circle. Click. A sound like a lock releasing. The panel shifted inward slightly. All three of them jerked backward. Bubbles rose from their regulators as they breathed hard. Maya steadied herself. This was what she wanted. This was why they came. She swam forward again and gripped the edge of the panel. It moved easily now. She pulled it open like a door. Darkness lay beyond. Her flashlight beam disappeared into the opening without showing walls or bottom. She looked at Danny and Carmen. They both nodded. They were going in. Maya went first. She pulled herself through the opening into a passage. The walls were smooth metal, not rusty or corroded despite being underwater. She moved forward slowly. The passage angled downward. 20 feet, 30 feet. Her depth gauge showed they were going deeper than they should be able to go. Deeper than the lake bed itself. Then the passage opened up. She emerged into a space filled with air. She broke the surface, gasping in surprise. Danny and Carmen came up beside her. They pulled out their regulators and breathed cautiously. The air was fresh, clean. Better than it had any right to be in a sealed chamber beneath a lake. They climbed out onto a platform made of the same smooth metal. Maya shone her flashlight around. They were in a chamber roughly circular and about 50 feet across. The walls curved up to a domed ceiling. Soft light began to glow from panels in the ceiling as if responding to their presence. The light was blue-white and steady. Not electric. Something else. What is this place? Carmen whispered. I have no idea, Maya replied. But someone built it. Someone with technology way beyond what should exist here. The chamber contained equipment, consoles with dark screens, cylindrical containers standing upright like display cases, a large table in the center with a surface that looked like glass. Danny walked to one of the consoles and examined it carefully without touching. Carmen moved to the containers. Inside them were objects, tools maybe, or artifacts. She wiped condensation from the outside of one container. Inside was something that looked like a tablet or slate, covered in the same symbols they had seen on the panel outside. Maya approached the central table. As she got closer, the glass surface lit up. Symbols and diagrams appeared projected in 3 dimensions above the table. She recognized star patterns, constellations. But the perspective was wrong. These were views of stars from somewhere else, not Earth. She reached toward the projection and the image changed. Now it showed Earth, blue and green and beautiful, but different. The continents were in slightly different positions. This was Earth from long ago. How old is this place? Danny asked. His voice echoed in the chamber. I do not know. Thousands of years, maybe, or more. They spread out, exploring the chamber. Carmen found what looked like sleeping quarters. Small rooms branched off from the main chamber. Inside were beds or bunks, simple but functional. The rooms were sized for people, human-sized. That was somehow more disturbing than if they had been designed for creatures much larger or smaller. Danny found storage areas, containers full of materials they could not identify. Some looked like food but perfectly preserved. Others held equipment. One container was full of small devices the size of coins. They were smooth and warm to the touch. When Danny picked one up, it projected light, a hologram showing the same strange symbols. Maya was studying the central table when she noticed something, a handprint outline on the surface. It was glowing faint gold. She hesitated, then placed her hand on the outline. The table flared with light. The projection above changed rapidly. Images flashed by, people, human people, but also others, tall figures with elongated heads and large eyes. They were working together, building things, teaching each other. She saw images of the bridge being constructed, the tall figures directing, humans following their instructions. She saw the Apache people, her ancestors. They were there. They were part of this. The images kept coming. Lessons in astronomy, mathematics, agriculture, medicine. The tall figures were teachers. The humans were students. This was not invasion. This was cooperation. Then the images stopped. One final picture appeared. A view of space. A cluster of stars with one highlighted. A world circling that star. Then a line drew from that world to Earth, a journey. The tall figures had come from somewhere else. They had traveled across the galaxy to reach Earth. And they had chosen to help rather than conquer. Maya lifted her hand and the projection faded. She turned to Danny and Carmen. They had been watching. Their faces showed the same wonder and confusion she felt. None of them spoke for a long moment. What could you say when you discovered that your grandmother's stories about star people were real? We should go back, Carmen finally said. We need time to process this, and we need to decide what to do. Maya nodded. She wanted to stay. She wanted to explore every corner of this chamber and learn everything it held. But Carmen was right. They needed to think. They needed to be smart about this. She took pictures with her waterproof camera. Hundreds of them. Documenting everything they had seen. They returned to the water and swam back through the passage. Maya closed the panel behind them. She pressed the symbols in reverse order and heard it lock. They surfaced in the lake and swam to shore. The sun was setting. They had been down there for hours, though it had felt like minutes. They sat on the bank of the lake and watched darkness fall. None of them spoke. What they had found changed everything. It changed history. It changed humanity's place in the universe. It changed what they thought they knew about their own people and their past. Maya looked up at the emerging stars and wondered which one the visitors had come from. She wondered if they were still out there, and she wondered if they would ever come back. They returned to the chamber the next morning with better equipment and careful plans. Maya had spent the night researching. She downloaded language analysis software and historical databases onto her tablet. Danny brought his toolbox and climbing gear. Carmen packed food and water and first aid supplies. They told no one else where they were going. This secret was too important to share carelessly. The dive was easier this time. They knew what to expect. Maya opened the panel without hesitation and led them through the passage. The chamber's lights activated as before, but this time Maya noticed something. The lights grew brighter as they moved around, as if tracking them, as if the chamber itself was aware of their presence. Danny set up battery-powered lanterns in the corners for backup lighting. Carmen began cataloging the containers and their contents. Maya went straight to the central table. She wanted to access more of the information stored there. She placed her hand on the print and the projection activated. This time she spoke to it. "Show me more," she said. "Show me who you are." The projection rippled. Then a figure appeared. One of the tall beings. It stood about 7 feet tall with long limbs and a narrow frame. Its head was larger than a human's with enormous eyes, but its face held kindness. When it spoke, the words were not English, but somehow Maya understood them. The chamber was translating, putting meaning directly into her mind. "We are the architects," the figure said. "We are travelers and teachers. We came to your world long ago when your people were young. We saw potential in humanity, creativity and curiosity and courage. We chose to share knowledge with those who would listen." "Why?" Maya asked. "Why help us?" "Because we were helped once, long ago. When our people were young, another race came to us. They taught us. They showed us the stars. They gave us the tools to reach beyond our world. We survived because of their gift. We thrived because of their wisdom. It is our responsibility to pass that gift forward." The projection changed. It showed the architect's homeworld, cities of light and gardens that floated in the air, beautiful and peaceful. Then it showed their ships, elegant vessels that moved between stars. The architects had explored thousands of worlds. Some they found empty, some held primitive life, and some held people, young civilizations taking their first steps toward the stars. "We help when we can," the figure continued. "We teach, but we do not control. We offer knowledge, but the choice to use it belongs to each species. Some accept our help and grow. Others reject us. That is their right. We respect free will above all else." "What did you teach my people?" Maya asked. The projection showed scenes from ancient times. Architects working alongside Apache elders, teaching them to read the stars for navigation and to mark the seasons. showing them plants that could heal and how to grow crops in difficult soil, explaining the movement of water beneath the earth and how to find it. Mathematics and geometry, the principles of leverage and construction. Your ancestors were wise, the figure said. They understood that knowledge without wisdom is dangerous. They learned what we taught, but they kept their own ways. They did not try to become us. They remained themselves. That is rare. That is precious. Maya felt tears on her face. She was seeing her people's history in a new light. They had not been primitive or unsophisticated. They had been students of an advanced alien race. They had learned and adapted while maintaining their identity. The pride she felt was overwhelming. Danny called out from across the chamber. He had found something. Maya paused the projection and went to him. He stood before a door they had not noticed before. It had opened in the wall. Beyond it was a passage leading deeper. They looked at each other. Then they entered. The passage was short. It opened into another chamber. This one was different. The walls were lined with screens. Hundreds of them. They activated as Maya and her friends entered. Each screen showed a different scene. Different places. Different times. They were watching recordings. History stored in this facility. One screen showed the construction of the bridge. Architects and humans working together, hauling the massive stones into place. The stones were not cut from quarries. They were made. The architects had some kind of device that shaped rock like clay. They formed each stone perfectly, then fused them together with technology that looked like controlled lightning. Another screen showed teaching sessions. An architect sitting with a group of Apache women, showing them star charts, explaining that the Earth moved around the sun and the sun moved through the galaxy. One of the women was drawing, making careful notes, preserving the knowledge for future generations. Carmen stood before a screen showing medicine. An architect demonstrating how certain plants could be combined to fight infection, how to set broken bones properly, how to recognize and treat various illnesses. The Apache healers were learning quickly, asking questions, making connections the architect had not considered. Teaching was going both ways. Maya moved from screen to screen, absorbing everything. Here was the truth that archaeologists and historians had missed. Human civilization had not developed in isolation. There had been help, guidance, not from gods or magic, but from other beings who had walked the same path before, beings who wanted to see humanity succeed. The central screen was larger than the others. Maya approached it and it activated. The same architect figure from before appeared. Its expression was sad now, mournful. We had to leave, it said, not by choice. An enemy was coming, a threat we could not fight. They hunt young civilizations. They harvest resources and take slaves. They had been following us for generations. We stayed on Earth as long as we could. We taught as much as we dared. But we could not lead them to you. We could not let them find Earth. The screen showed architect ships leaving, rising into the sky in a formation of light. Below them, Apache people watched. Some were crying. Friendships had formed, bonds between species. But the architects had to go, to draw the enemy away. We left this facility as a gift, the figure continued, as a promise. When humanity is ready, when someone with the knowledge to find it and the wisdom to use it arrives, then this place will open. Inside is everything we could not teach you before we left. Technology, science, medicine, history, and a warning. Warning about what? Maya asked. The screen changed. It showed ships, but not like the architect vessels. These were dark and angular, cruel-looking, weapons bristling from every surface. The enemy, the harvesters, they're still out there, the figure said, still hunting, still destroying. We fled Earth 3,000 years ago. We led them away. But eventually they will find this world on their own. Humanity must be ready. You must be able to defend yourselves, to stand with other young civilizations against this threat. The screen showed battles, worlds burning, civilizations falling. The harvesters showed no mercy. They took everything and left nothing but ash. Maya felt cold fear in her stomach. This was not just ancient history. This was a warning about the future. In this facility you will find defensive technology, the figure said. Weapons, yes, but also shields and detection systems. Ways to hide your world, ways to protect it. But this technology is dangerous. In the wrong hands it could destroy as easily as protect. That is why we locked it behind a genetic key. Only someone who carries the bloodline of those we taught. someone who has been raised with the wisdom of your ancestors. Only that person can fully access what we left. The projection turned and looked directly at Maya. You are that person. Your DNA matches the markers we placed in your ancestors. Your mind has the training to understand what we left. Your heart has the wisdom to use it properly. The choice now is yours. Will you accept the responsibility? Will you help prepare humanity for what is coming? Maya stood frozen. This was too much, too big. She was just an engineer who wanted to build a house. She was not a hero. She was not someone who could change the world. But looking at the screens around her and seeing her ancestors working alongside these visitors, she realized something. They had accepted responsibility too. They had learned difficult truths and carried them forward. She was their descendant, their legacy. Yes, she said quietly. I will do it. The chamber hummed with energy. Panels in the walls opened, revealing storage areas filled with devices and equipment. The central screen showed a complex diagram, a map of the entire facility. It extended far deeper than she had imagined. Multiple levels, laboratories, libraries, workshops. Everything humanity would need to defend itself when the time came. Danny and Carmen stood beside her. They had heard everything. They placed their hands on her shoulders. She was not alone in this. They would help. Together they would unlock the secrets the architects had left. Together they would prepare humanity for its destiny among the stars. Maya spent the next week in the facility. She barely slept, barely ate. Danny and Carmen forced food into her hands and made her rest, but she always went back. There was too much to learn, too much at stake. The architects had left behind an archive that held 3,000 years of knowledge. Every day she discovered something new. Every day the picture became clearer. The central computer recognized her genetic signature. It opened sections of the facility that had remained sealed. She found a laboratory where the architects had studied Earth biology. Samples of plants and animals preserved perfectly, notes on human anatomy and physiology. The architects had wanted to understand the people they were helping. They had been thorough and respectful in their research. In another section, she found a library. Not books, but data crystals that projected information when activated. Each crystal contained terabytes of knowledge, science, mathematics, philosophy, art. The architects had recorded their entire civilization's accumulated wisdom. They had given it to humanity as a gift. Maya realized this was more valuable than any physical technology. This was the foundation that would allow humans to understand and build upon what they found. Carmen discovered a workshop filled with tools. Some were simple hand tools that could be understood immediately. Others were complex devices that required study. There were fabrication machines that could create objects from raw materials with impossible precision, medical equipment that could diagnose and heal injuries that would be fatal with current human technology, power generators the size of basketballs that produced clean, unlimited energy. Danny found the armory. He called Maya down with urgency in his voice. The weapons were unlike anything from Earth. Devices that could create shields of energy, weapons that fired concentrated light, systems that could hide large areas from detection. But there were also restraints. Safety measures. The weapons only activated for people the architects had deemed worthy. They required specific genetic markers and a clear, non-aggressive intent. These were defensive weapons, not tools of conquest. They thought of everything, Danny said, examining a shield generator. They gave us the means to protect ourselves but made it impossible to use for aggression. They understood human nature, Maya replied. They knew we could be violent. They built in safeguards. The deeper Maya went into the archive, the more she understood the architects' philosophy. They believed that every civilization had the right to determine its own destiny. They would share knowledge but never impose their will. They would protect young species from outside threats but would not fight their wars for them. They had watched species destroy themselves with technology they were not ready for. They had learned to be careful, but they had also learned that some threats required cooperation. The harvesters were such a threat. The architects called them the devourers in their language. They had been plaguing the galaxy for millions of years. Ancient, ruthless. They found young civilizations just reaching space capability. They attacked before those species could defend themselves or call for help. They took resources, technology, people. Then they moved on, leaving dead worlds behind. The architects had fought them many times. Sometimes they won, sometimes they lost. They had formed alliances with other peaceful species, created a network of civilizations that helped each other. But the Devourers were patient. They waited. They watched. They struck when defenses were weakest. The architects had lost their homeworld to them 5,000 years ago. Everything Maya saw in the projections of their beautiful cities was gone now. Ash and ruins. That loss had changed the architects. They had become nomadic, traveling from system to system, helping where they could, teaching as many young species as possible, building a network that might one day be strong enough to defeat the Devourers permanently. Earth was one of hundreds of worlds they had visited. Humanity was one of many species they had tried to prepare. Maya found records of other species the architects had helped, beings that looked nothing like humans, some aquatic, some gaseous, some that existed in forms human minds struggled to comprehend. The galaxy was full of life, full of intelligence, full of potential, and the Devourers threatened all of it. One evening, Maya activated a crystal that contained personal logs, individual architects recording their thoughts. She listened to one named Keeper who had worked closely with her Apache ancestors. Keeper's voice was gentle and sad. It spoke about the friendships formed, the joy of watching humans grasp complex concepts, the sorrow of knowing they would have to leave. I have taught on 17 worlds, Keeper's log said. I have met hundreds of species. But these humans, these Apache, they have something special, a connection to their world, a respect for nature that many species lose as they advance. They learn quickly, but they do not forget where they came from. I believe if any species can unite the galaxy against the Devourers, it will be them. I pray they find this message. I pray they are ready when the time comes. Maya felt the weight of that hope. The architects had believed in humanity. They had invested 3,000 years in preparing Earth for what was coming. She could not let them down. She could not let her ancestors down. She had to find a way to use this knowledge wisely. Carmen found her sitting in the library surrounded by active crystals. The blue light cast strange shadows on the walls. Carmen sat down beside her without speaking. After a long moment, Maya turned to her friend. How do we do this? Maya asked. How do we prepare humanity? If I reveal this place, the government will take it. The military will weaponize everything. Corporations will try to profit. People will fight over the technology. We could start a war just trying to prevent one. Then we do not reveal everything at once, Carmen said. We are smart about it. We find people we trust, scientists, leaders who care about more than power. We build a coalition. We share the knowledge slowly. Give humanity time to adapt. What if there is not enough time? The architects left 3,000 years ago. The Devourers could come tomorrow. Then we do our best, Carmen replied. What else can we do? Danny entered the library carrying a device he had found in the workshop. It looked like a flat disk with a screen. He had figured out how to activate it. The screen showed a map of the solar system. Small dots marked locations throughout. Danny pointed to several dots near Earth's orbit. I think these are satellites, he said. The architects left monitoring stations. They have been watching the approaches to Earth for 3,000 years, recording anything that comes close. I think we need to check them. See if the Devourers have been here already. See if we have more time or less. Maya stood up quickly. He was right. Before they could plan anything, they needed to know the current threat level. She accessed the facility's communication systems. The satellites were still active, still functional after all these centuries. Architect technology was built to last. She downloaded their data logs, thousands of years of observations, scanning for the specific signatures the Devourers used. The three of them reviewed the data together. Most of it showed natural phenomena, asteroids, comets, solar radiation. Then about 500 years ago, something else appeared. A ship, not human, not architect. It had passed through the outer solar system quickly, scanning, searching. It matched the profile of a Devourer scout. It had found Earth. It had recorded Earth's location, but it had moved on without attacking. Why did they not attack? Danny asked. If they found us, why leave? Maya kept searching the data. She found the answer. At the time the scout passed through Earth had shown only pre-industrial civilization. No radio signals, no satellites, no signs of space capability. The Devourers ignored worlds that had not reached a certain technology level. They would return when humanity was worth harvesting. She checked for more recent data. Her blood ran cold. 3 months ago, another ship had passed through. Closer this time. It had detected radio signals, satellite transmissions, clear signs of advanced technology. The scout had spent 2 days in orbit scanning Earth thoroughly. Then it had left. Heading back toward deep space. They are coming, Maya whispered. They know we are here now. They are sending the main fleet. How long do we have? Carmen asked. Maya did calculations based on the scout's trajectory and estimated fleet speed using data from the Architect archives. The numbers were not good. The main fleet would arrive in approximately 18 months. Maybe less. 18 months to prepare humanity for an invasion by an enemy they did not know existed. 18 months to unlock enough Architect technology to defend the planet. 18 months to unite a divided world against a common threat. We need to act now, Maya said. We need to bring in help. Good people, smart people. We need to start building defenses and ships. We need to wake up humanity to the reality that we are not alone. And we need to do all of it without causing panic or war. Danny looked at the map of approaching danger. Where do we start? We start with people we trust, Maya replied. My Professor Gregory. He can verify the archaeological significance and help us approach the scientific community. We need military advisors who understand defense strategy. We need engineers who can replicate Architect technology. We need diplomats who can unite nations. And we need to do this quietly until we have enough pieces in place. Maya called Gregory 2 days later. She told him she needed to see him in person, that she had found something important. He caught the next flight to Arizona. When he arrived at Crystal Lake, his academic skepticism vanished within minutes of entering the facility. He stood in the central chamber with his mouth open, staring at technology that should not exist. He touched the walls, examined the consoles, watched the holographic projections. Then he sat down on the floor and laughed until tears ran down his face. Do you know what this means? He said. Do you understand what you have found? This changes everything. Every textbook, every theory, every assumption about human development. We were not alone. We were never alone. I know, Maya said, but we have a bigger problem than rewriting history books. She showed him the satellite data. The approaching threat, the 18-month timeline. Gregory's laughter died. His face went pale. He was a scientist. He dealt in facts and evidence. The evidence said an alien invasion fleet was coming to Earth. The evidence said humanity was not ready. We need to tell people, he said. The government, the military, the United Nations, everyone, and what will happen? Maya asked. Mass panic. Religious upheaval. Nations fighting over access to this facility. How long before someone decides to nuke this place rather than let another country have it? We have to be smart. Gregory nodded slowly. He was thinking, planning. We need a team. A small group at first. People with expertise in different fields. People we can trust. We reveal the truth to them gradually. Let them verify everything. Then we use their credibility to approach larger organizations. Over the next month, they carefully assembled a team. Gregory brought in 3 colleagues. Linda Hayes taught physics at MIT. She was brilliant and open-minded. When she saw the Architect power generators, she understood immediately what they meant for solving Earth's energy problems. Patrick Stone was a biologist who had spent his career searching for extraterrestrial life. Finding proof of it made him weep. Samantha Cole was an engineer who specialized in advanced materials. She could barely contain her excitement when she saw the Architect alloys and composites. Maya brought in people from her professional network. Kevin Ross was a former Air Force pilot who now designed aircraft. He had top-secret clearance and contacts throughout the military. When he saw the Architect ships in the database, he knew Earth's current aerospace technology was hopelessly outmatched. Rachel Wu worked for NASA in mission planning. She had dreamed of first contact her entire life. She never imagined it would come with such urgency. Carmen knew people too. Her store served the whole county. She knew who could be trusted, who had skills, who would keep quiet. She brought in Ben Ortiz, who ran an electronics manufacturing plant. If they needed to mass-produce Architect technology quickly, he could help. She brought in Father Martinez from the local church. Someone had to think about the spiritual and philosophical implications. How would faith traditions react to proof of alien life? Danny recruited his military friends, men and women who had served and understood combat. Carl Fisher had been Army Special Forces. He looked at the Architect weapons and started developing training protocols. Nina Brooks was a logistics expert. She began planning how to move and hide equipment without attracting attention. Jake Morrison was a communications specialist. He set up secure networks so the team could coordinate without being monitored. Within 6 weeks, they had 20 core team members. Each was vetted carefully. Each signed agreements to keep the discovery secret until they were ready to reveal it. Each was given access to different parts of the facility based on their expertise. Maya became the de facto leader. She was the only one who could access everything. Her genetic markers opened doors the others could not pass. The facility itself seemed to recognize her authority. They worked 18-hour days, learning, planning, building. Linda and Patrick focused on understanding the science. Every piece of architect technology was studied and documented. Samantha and Ben worked on replication. Could they manufacture copies using Earth materials and methods? The answer was sometimes. The simpler devices could be reproduced. The more advanced ones required materials and processes they did not have yet. Kevin and Rachel planned defense strategies. The architect database contained information about devourer tactics, how they attacked, what weapons they used, their weaknesses. It was not much, but it was something. They began designing Earth's defensive response. Where to position weapons, how to coordinate with existing military forces, how to evacuate population centers if necessary. One night Maya was working late in the deepest part of the facility. She had found a section she had not accessed before, a vault that required not just her genetic signature, but also specific knowledge. She had to solve puzzles based on Apache history and architect science. It took her 3 hours, but she finally opened it. Inside was a small chamber. In the center stood a pedestal. On the pedestal sat a crystal different from all the others. It pulsed with golden light. Maya approached carefully. When she touched it, the crystal activated. But this was not a recording. This was a message, addressed specifically to whoever found the facility. The final warning the architects had left, a figure appeared. Not the one she had seen before. This architect was older. Its eyes held deep sadness and deeper wisdom. When it spoke, Maya felt the weight of ages in its voice. "If you are hearing this, then you have proven yourself worthy," it said. "You have the blood of those we taught. You have the knowledge to understand what we left. You have the wisdom to use it properly. Now you must hear the final truth. The truth we could not leave in the open archives. The truth that is too dangerous for those who are not ready." The chamber's walls displayed new images. The devourers were shown in detail. Their ships, their weapons, their society, but also their origin. The devourers had once been a peaceful species, young and curious like humanity. Then they had been attacked by another predator race, nearly wiped out. The survivors had become what they feared. They had decided the universe was hostile. That survival required dominating others before being dominated. They had transformed themselves into living weapons, biotechnology and cybernetics. They were no longer fully organic. "They cannot be reasoned with," the architect said. "We tried for thousands of years. They see all other species as either threats or resources. There is no middle ground. But they can be defeated. They are powerful but not invincible. Their strength is also their weakness. They rely on fear, on overwhelming force. They expect enemies to scatter and run. A coordinated defense surprises them. Multiple species working together can hold them back." The image changed. It showed a battle. Architect ships and vessels from a dozen other species fighting together. They were holding a line against a devourer fleet. The battle was fierce, but the defenders were winning through cooperation and courage. "This is what we tried to build," the architect continued. "A network of civilizations ready to stand together. We call it the Alliance. Hundreds of species, thousands of worlds, all committed to defending each other. Earth was always meant to be part of this alliance. Your people have the qualities needed: courage, adaptability, stubbornness. You do not give up. You fight for what you believe in. Those traits will serve you well. In this vault you will find the means to contact the Alliance, a communications device. When you activate it, the Alliance will know Earth is ready to join them. They will send ships to help you, but you must understand the cost. By joining the Alliance, you become a target, not just for the devourers, but for others who oppose the Alliance. You will be committing humanity to a larger struggle, a war that has lasted millions of years, a war that may never end." Maya felt her heart hammering. This was the real choice, not just defending Earth, but joining something bigger, taking humanity into galactic politics, making friends and enemies among the stars. The decision is yours, the architect said. You can use what we left to defend your world alone. Build your defenses. Hide as best you can. Hope the devourers move on to easier targets. Some species choose that path. They survive by being beneath notice. Or you can stand up. Call for help. Join the fight. Risk everything but gain allies and a voice in shaping the galaxy's future. The projection faded. The golden crystal stopped pulsing. Maya stood alone in the vault. The communications device sat on a shelf. Small and innocuous, but it represented a choice that would determine humanity's path for generations. She thought about her ancestors. What would they have chosen? They had accepted the architect's help. They had learned and grown stronger. They had not hidden from new knowledge even when it was strange and frightening. She picked up the device. It was warm in her hands. She did not activate it yet. This choice was too important to make alone. She brought it back to the main chamber. She called a meeting of the entire team. They gathered around the central table. Maya told them everything. The alliance, the choice, the consequences. Then she placed the device on the table. We vote, she said. All of us. This affects all of humanity. But we are the ones who know the truth. We have to decide whether to make the call, whether to ask for help and accept what comes with it, or whether to face the devourers alone. The signal went out at midnight. Maya stood outside the facility looking up at the stars. Somewhere out there the message was traveling, faster than light according to the architect database, using quantum entanglement or something similar that human physics had not yet discovered. The Alliance would receive it. They would know Earth was ready. They would respond. But how long would that take? Days, weeks? And what would their response be? The answer came faster than anyone expected. 3 days after sending the signal, Maya's communicator activated. It was an Alliance device she had found in the vault. Small and elegant. When it lit up, she nearly dropped it in surprise. A voice spoke. Not English. Not any human language. But again, the architect translation technology worked. The meaning came through clearly. This is Alliance Command to Earth Station. We received your activation signal. We are pleased and surprised. Architect monitoring stations indicated Earth had achieved basic space capability, but we did not expect readiness for Alliance membership for another century. Can you confirm this is not a false signal? Can you confirm Earth has access to Architect legacy technology? Maya took a breath. This was it. First contact. Real first contact. Not with the architects who had left long ago, but with their allies. With the civilization network Earth would join. This is Maya Redfeather of Earth. I confirm we have found an architect facility. We have accessed their technology. We understand the threat from the devourers. We are requesting Alliance assistance to defend our world. There was a pause. Then the voice returned. It sounded different. Warmer, almost amused. Maya Redfeather, your genetic markers match architect records. You are descended from their chosen contacts. This is appropriate. This is right. I am Commander Ven of the Alliance Expeditionary Fleet. We are currently 18 light-years from your position. We can reach Earth in 40 days. Can Earth survive that long? Maya looked at her team gathered around listening. Kevin held up his tablet. He had been coordinating with contacts in the military, quietly pushing them to increase satellite monitoring, to strengthen orbital defenses, to prepare for something without saying what. He typed quickly, then showed Maya the screen. We have 40 to 60 days before Devourer fleet arrives based on scout trajectory, Maya said. We should survive until you arrive. But we need coordination. We need to prepare our governments and militaries. How do we do this without causing mass panic? That is always the difficult part, Ven replied. Every world faces this. We recommend limited disclosure. Inform key leaders first. Show them proof. Let them verify independently. Then expand the circle gradually. Some panic is inevitable, but humans are resilient. We have studied your species. You face crisis with courage more often than with fear. What can we do in 40 days? Prepare your defenses. Manufacture as much architect technology as possible. Begin evacuation plans for major population centers. And most importantly, unify your world. The Devourers attack divided species more easily. If Earth stands together, you have a better chance. The call ended with promises to communicate daily. Ven would send technical specifications, tactical information, everything Earth needed to prepare. Maya looked at her team. They had 40 days to change the world, to reveal the truth. To unite humanity, to build defenses against an enemy most people did not know existed. They started with the United States government. Kevin used his military contacts to arrange a meeting with the Secretary of Defense. Gregory reached out to scientific advisors in the White House. Maya prepared a presentation, evidence, data, video from the facility, satellite records of the Devourer scouts, the Alliance communication logs, everything needed to prove the threat was real. The meeting took place in a secure facility in Virginia. Maya faced a room full of generals and politicians and scientists. People who held tremendous power. People who could help or hinder everything she was trying to do. She told them the truth. All of it, the architects, the facility, the approaching invasion, the Alliance offer of help. The reaction was mixed. Some believed immediately. The evidence was too strong to deny. Others thought it was an elaborate hoax. A few thought it was a threat from another nation. Russia or China trying to trick America into wasting resources. But Maya had prepared for skepticism. She brought samples, architect technology that could be tested. She provided coordinates for the facility, invited them to visit, to verify everything themselves. The Secretary of Defense was a practical woman named Helen Price. She listened to everything, examined the evidence, asked hard questions. Then she made a decision. If this is real, we need to act immediately, she said. If it is not real, the cost of preparing for a fake invasion is minor compared to the cost of ignoring a real one. I am recommending to the President that we move forward. We prepare, we coordinate with allies, and we get ready for first contact. Within a week, Earth's major governments knew the truth. The United Nations Security Council held an emergency session. China sent scientists to examine the facility. Russia offered military assistance. The European Union began coordinating civilian evacuation plans. India started manufacturing architect power generators. Japan focused on shield technology. Brazil organized food production to support displaced populations. Every nation contributed something, but there was resistance too. Some religious leaders called it a hoax or a test of faith. Some politicians saw opportunity for power. Some corporations wanted exclusive access to the technology. Maya found herself dealing with problems she never imagined. Patent disputes over alien technology, religious protesters at the facility, reporters trying to sneak in, conspiracy theorists claiming the whole thing was staged. The truth leaked slowly then all at once. Someone recorded a meeting and posted it online. Photos of the facility appeared on social media. Within days, the whole world knew. Aliens were real. An invasion was coming. Earth had roughly 30 days to prepare. The panic Venn had warned about began. Stock markets crashed. People fled cities. Riots broke out in some places. But in other places, something better emerged. People came together. Neighbors helped neighbors. Communities organized. Old enemies put aside differences. India and Pakistan coordinated evacuation plans. Israel and Palestine shared resources. North and South Korea opened their borders. The threat was too big for old conflicts. Humanity began to unite in ways it never had before. Maya worked 20-hour days, coordinating with governments, teaching scientists how to use architect technology, planning defensive positions with military commanders. She barely slept, barely ate. Danny and Carmen forced her to rest sometimes, but she always went back to work. There was too much to do and too little time. The Alliance fleet arrived on day 39. Their ships appeared at the edge of the solar system in flashes of light. 20 vessels, each one massive. Beautiful and deadly, they moved in formation toward Earth. Maya watched on screens in the facility as every telescope and satellite on the planet tracked their approach. Humanity held its breath. Commander Venn's ship took position in orbit above Crystal Lake. A shuttle descended to the landing zone near the bridge. Maya walked out to meet it with her core team around her. The shuttle door opened. Venn emerged. It was tall like the architects but bulkier. 4 arms, 6 eyes, covered in what looked like scales. Not remotely human. But when it spoke, the translation came through warm and friendly. Maya Redfeather, it is an honor to meet you. The architects chose well when they selected your ancestors. You have done what many species fail to do. You have prepared your world in time. You have given Earth a fighting chance. Maya bowed slightly, a gesture of respect her grandmother had taught her. Thank you for coming, for helping us. We know you risk much by being here. That is what the Alliance does, Ven replied. We stand together. That is the only way any of us survive. Now show me what you have prepared. Show me Earth's defenses. We have 11 days before the Devourers arrive. We have much work to do. The next 11 days were a blur. Alliance engineers worked alongside human teams, installing advanced weapon systems, setting up shield generators around major cities, positioning orbital defense platforms, teaching human pilots to fly architect fighters, training ground forces to use energy weapons. Earth's militaries integrated with Alliance forces. Joint command centers were established. Communication protocols were tested and refined. Maya barely saw the facility during those days. She was everywhere else, giving interviews to calm the public, meeting with world leaders, coordinating defensive positions. She had become the face of Earth's defense, the bridge between humanity and the Alliance, the woman who had found the architect legacy and used it to save her world. On day 50 since sending the signal, the Devourer fleet arrived. 43 ships, larger than Alliance vessels, heavily armed. They emerged from faster-than-light travel at the outer solar system. Immediately they began scanning, analyzing, preparing to attack. Then they saw Earth's defenses. They saw the Alliance fleet in orbit. They saw a world ready to fight instead of a helpless target. They paused, recalculating. This was not what they expected. The Devourers relied on surprise and overwhelming force against unprepared enemies. Earth was prepared. Earth had allies. The battle would be costly even if they won. The Battle of Earth lasted 3 days. 3 days of fire and light across the solar system. The Devourers attacked with everything they had. Wave after wave of fighters and missiles, beams of energy that could cut through mountains, bombs that could crack continents. But Earth stood firm. Alliance ships met them in orbit. Human pilots flew architect fighters with desperate courage. Orbital defense platforms fired until their power cores melted. Shield generators over major cities held against bombardment that should have destroyed them. Maya coordinated from the facility. Screens surrounded her showing every part of the battle. She had become the central hub of communication, relaying information between Alliance Command and Earth military leaders, monitoring shield status, directing resources where they were needed most. She watched people die. Pilots who did not return. Cities where shields failed. She felt every loss like a knife in her heart. But humanity fought back. Kevin led a squadron that destroyed a Devourer carrier. Linda's shield modifications saved Tokyo when a bomb penetrated the atmosphere. Patrick's biological weapons targeting Devourer cybernetics turned several of their ships into floating debris. Earth had learned from the architects. Earth had learned from the Alliance. And Earth had added its own innovations. Human creativity combined with alien technology created weapons the Devourers had not faced before. On the 3rd day, the Devourer fleet broke. They had taken 60% losses. Their remaining ships were damaged. They sent a final transmission. The architect's translation technology made the words clear. This world is defended. We will return with greater force. Earth is marked. Then they fled, jumping back into faster-than-light travel, heading away from Earth toward deep space. Humanity had won. Not completely. The threat remained. But for now, Earth was safe. Ven's fleet pursued the Devourers to the edge of the system, then returned. When the all-clear signal sounded, people emerged from shelters. They looked at the sky, at the Alliance ships still in orbit, at the stars that now meant something different. Humanity was no longer alone. Humanity had fought beside aliens and survived. The days after the battle were strange. Celebration mixed with grief. Earth had lost 12 million people. Cities were damaged, infrastructure destroyed. But the planet survived. Civilization continued, and humanity had changed forever. The old division seemed smaller now. What did borders matter when you had fought beside people from every nation against a common enemy? What did old grudges mean when you had shared a shelter with strangers who became friends? Maya stood at the edge of Crystal Lake 1 week after the battle. The bridge still stood unchanged. The water reflected a sky that now had new lights. Alliance ships remained in orbit. They would stay for months helping Earth rebuild, teaching more technology, helping humanity take its place among the galactic community. She looked at her reflection in the water. She had aged years in just 2 months. But she was still herself, still Maya Redfeather, still the Apache woman who had just wanted to build a house by the lake. Ven approached. The commander had come down from the fleet to speak with her personally. You did well, Ven said. Better than most species do with first contact under such circumstances. Earth will be a strong member of the Alliance. What happens now? Maya asked. Now Earth rebuilds. We help, we teach, we trade. Earth has much to offer the Alliance. Your art and music, your diversity of thought, your perspective. And in return we offer protection, technology, friendship with thousands of worlds. The Devourers will come back. Yes, in time. They always do. But Earth will be ready, and you will not face them alone. That is the point of the Alliance. No world stands alone. We protect each other. 5 years passed. Maya's house finally got built. A simple structure overlooking the lake, solar panels and flowing water systems, the way she had originally planned. But now the house served another purpose. It was the headquarters of the Earth Alliance interface, the place where human and alien scientists worked together, where new technology was shared, where the next generation learned about the galaxy they were part of. Danny ran security for the facility. The original chamber beneath the bridge had expanded. New sections built by Alliance engineers, laboratories where human and alien researchers collaborated, training centers where Earth's defenders learned advanced tactics, living quarters for visiting species. The facility had become a small city underground, a symbol of cooperation and hope. Carmen still ran her store in town, but now she also managed cultural exchange programs. She brought alien visitors to experience small-town Earth life. She took human students to Alliance worlds to learn. She had a gift for building bridges between species, for finding common ground. The core team had grown. Thousands of people worked on Alliance-related projects now. Some focused on defense, building Earth's fleet, training pilots and soldiers. Others focused on science, understanding the technology, developing new innovations. Some worked on diplomacy. Earth had a seat on the Alliance Council now, a voice in galactic affairs. Louise had passed away 2 years after the battle. She died peacefully in her sleep at 88. But before she died, she saw her granddaughter's dreams come true in ways neither of them had imagined. She saw the Star People return. She saw the old stories proven true. She held a piece of architect technology in her hands and smiled. She told Maya she was proud, that the ancestors were proud, that what Maya had done honored all the generations that came before. Maya missed her grandmother every day, but she felt her presence sometimes, especially near the bridge, especially in the evening when the light turned golden on the water. The bridge had become sacred to many people now, not just Apache but humans from around the world, and aliens too. Species from a dozen worlds had visited, had stood on the ancient stones, had honored the architects who built it. The bridge was a symbol, a reminder that the galaxy was full of people who helped each other, who chose cooperation over conflict. Earth had changed. Cities rebuilt stronger. Technology advanced rapidly. Humanity spread through the solar system, establishing colonies on Mars and stations around Jupiter. But Earth also kept its roots. Environmental protection became priority. Indigenous knowledge was valued. The lesson of the architects was clear. Advanced technology meant nothing without wisdom. Power meant nothing without responsibility. Progress meant nothing if you forgot where you came from. Tonight Maya stood on her porch watching the sunset. A new light appeared in the sky, brighter than the planets. Moving steadily, the first human deep space vessel, the Pathfinder, built using architect technology and Alliance knowledge but designed and crewed by humans. It was leaving for Alpha Centauri, a 4-year journey, Earth's first true exploration beyond the solar system. Maya felt tears on her face. Happy tears. She had come home to build a simple house, to find peace. Instead, she had found humanity's destiny. She had unlocked secrets that changed the world. She had helped save Earth from invasion. She had bridged the gap between humanity and the stars. And she had done it by remembering who she was, by honoring her ancestors, by combining ancient wisdom with new knowledge. Rachel Wu was captain of the Pathfinder. She sent a final message before the ship jumped to faster than light speed. It played on screens around the world. We go to the stars not as conquerors but as explorers, not as a single nation but as all humanity, not alone but as part of a greater community. We carry with us the wisdom of Earth, the courage of our ancestors, the hope for our future. We go knowing we are part of something bigger, part of an alliance that spans the galaxy, part of a story that began when the architects first came to Earth. And we go knowing that whatever we find out there, we face it together. The Pathfinder vanished into the night, jumping to speeds that bent reality, carrying humanity's dreams to the stars. Maya watched until the light faded. Then she looked down at the lake. At the bridge that had started everything. At the facility beneath that still held secrets waiting to be discovered. The architects had known. They had known that one day someone would find what they left. Someone who carried the old blood and the new knowledge. Someone who would use their gift wisely. Maya smiled. The architects had been right about humanity. About its potential. About its courage. Earth had passed the test. Had proven worthy of the legacy left behind. And now humanity was taking its place among the stars. Not as children needing protection. Not as warriors seeking conquest. But as equals. As friends. As partners in the great work of building a galaxy where all species could thrive. She turned and went inside her house. Tomorrow there would be more work. More discoveries. More challenges. But tonight she rested. Grateful for the path that had brought her here. Grateful for the grandmother who taught her to honor the past. Grateful for the friends who stood beside her. Grateful for the architects who believed in humanity before humanity believed in itself. Outside the stars shone bright. Thousands of them. Tens of thousands. Each one a sun. Each sun with worlds. And somewhere among those worlds were friends. Allies. The vast community that Earth was now part of. The galaxy was full of life. Full of wonder. Full of possibility. And humanity was ready to explore it all. Together with those who had come before. Together with those who would come after.